Certainly the big headlines in the NBA today come to us courtesy of Kevin Durant. He did an interview with Ric Bucher on Bleacher Report earlier today in which he expounded on a lot of topics. And I love the fact that KD will weigh in on anything. And some of the things he weighed in on was the fact that he doesn't think LeBron James will get a second superstar to come play with him in Los Angeles because young players, young stars like to handle the ball and do their own thing and everything goes through LeBron. Also because the media fanboys who just love LeBron so much is something that turns off other players. Joining us now on the hotline, Bleacher Report senior writer and NBA insider, Ric Bucher. Rick, Kevin Durant wasn't saying you were one of the fanboy media guys, was he?
I don't know, but I've never been – I've been accused of many things. Being a fanboy of LeBron is not one of them. So I'm going to assume that was not the case.
Wait, I'm going to Twitter. I'm doing Bucher fanboy, and the first thing that comes up is some kind of anime, so I think you're okay.
Thank you. And you know what? You should always source your information through Twitter because that is the absolute oracle and the truth. What are you doing? That is what's wrong with our society right now. We think that Twitter is where we go for, legitimate information. We go there strictly for entertainment. Nothing more than that.
Look at that, Smith. You're what's wrong with society in America.
I just searched Bucher and fanboy. I mean, listen, we don't have...
searched it on Twitter.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
It is a pretty good anime piece, though, Rick. I got to tell you.
Rick, we don't have time to fact check, okay? Whatever we say, we just say no. So this whole thing with Kevin Durant, did this strike you as jealousy? Did this strike you as him just continuing to be upset with the media? What was it?
It's a combination of things. I think the first part of it is simply that Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City held his tongue on a lot of things. And since he's come to Golden State, he's decided, I'm not doing that anymore, and he's kind of enjoyed it. And so his desire to make it clear that he doesn't really care what anybody thinks about him or what he says is first and foremost. He's going to say whatever it is that he's feeling and doesn't care how it lands. And so I don't think it's honestly, I don't want to go Dr. Phil here, but I've obviously had conversations about this story and about KD in particular and the things that he said. The one thing I keep in mind with KD in the big picture, in everything that he says, is that he's 28, 29 years old. He's still single. As far as I know, he's not in a dedicated relationship. And he's still in the mode of a single guy who just loves to play hoops. And when you put anything that's a little more dynamic or complicated complex, if you will, between him and that, particularly when it comes to basketball, he looks at it and says, wait a minute, what are we doing here? And the other part of it that I kind of appreciate is I am tired of everyone thinking that we have to have LeBron's opinion on everything and anything that happens on the planet. I appreciate and respect what LeBron has done as a player, but there's a lot, and I respect what he's done in terms of certain social issues and standing up and speaking his mind. I have no problem with him speaking his mind on anything for that matter. I just don't know that for us, as we're covering the NBA, that we need to be asking him about every single thing that happens on the planet.
Did you give Kevin Durant the hug he was seeking? At least that's how it reads from the answers that we've gotten here and from his, burner accounts and everything else, is that, when you use terms like fanboys and go into that line, that he's not feeling like he gets the same love and respect?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a matter of him being disappointed that he doesn't have fanboys. I didn't get that. That may be the case, but I didn't get the sense that it was that. I do think that there is, honestly, I think he looks at it and says, okay, LeBron's being celebrated for all these things that are beyond basketball by people who cover basketball. Why aren't we just talking about basketball? And maybe through that prism, he's thinking, hey, and I will say this, I do think that Kevin feels slighted that he's come to Golden State He's been a Finals MVP. He's won rings, and everybody is still saying, yeah, but you joined a team that was already a champion, so what did you really do? I do think he resents that narrative, but the rest of it, I would say that he just won. I think there's a part of him that says, do we really need to be celebrating LeBron for all these extraneous things above and beyond basketball? Can we stick to basketball? And however you see that, I'm not taking up for him in that view. I'm just saying I think that's the way he looks at it.
But there's that perspective of, boy, when people really start saying stuff about you, you've made it. LeBron gets just as many arrows shot at him as he does people saying, celebrating him for what he does in and outside of basketball. And the same thing is true for Kevin Durant. You got to realize, well, that's part of the thing. The bigger the star you are, the more people are going to love you, and people aren't going to love you. I mean, he's the second best player in the NBA. He just says he's got back-to-back Finals MVPs, and still he's got to realize this is kind of what comes with the territory.
Yeah, I would say I think the distinction here is that most of the people that are taking shots, or the most prominent people that are taking shots at LeBron, are people outside of basketball. I think there are a select few who try to put in context what LeBron has done when people want to say he's the greatest player who ever played, and X, Y, and Z, and I find that as foolish as anybody who covers the league. But the people that are criticizing him for the most part are not NBA people. NBA reporters are. I think everybody to a certain degree is in the bag for LeBron, and for a very simple reason. I mean, LeBron, and I want to thank LeBron just for being LeBron, because the number of people that were interested in the story. Above and beyond that, I got all these guys, to speak on the record, frankly, about him. But I dare say that anytime anybody does any story on LeBron, it does huge traffic. It's just who he is. And so a lot of the, aside from what KD had to say about just the idea that, LeBron, you become complimentary to LeBron. And it's not necessarily driven by him. It's just the power of his stardom that, nobody begrudges him that, but it is definitely an element that you have to deal with. And I'm sure to some level, KD looks at that and says, you know what, I think I've done enough as a basketball player that I deserve at least some of that. And I say he's at the opposite end of the spectrum. He doesn't get as much credit as he deserves for all that he's accomplished in the game.
Fox Sports Radio, Jason Smith Show with Mike Harmon coming to you from the Geico Studios. On the hotline with us, Bleacher Report senior writer Ric Bucher. You can find him on Twitter at Ric Bucher. Also, check out his podcast daily, Bucher and Friends. You can find that on iTunes. Just check out the links on his Twitter account as well. See, we referred him back to Twitter along the way, Rick. Always. There's home base.
Center of the universe.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, at least in our sports media, so we can all pat each other on the back.
Just
and throw
search
arrows.
Ric Bucher fanboy, and it comes up. You find it.
Maybe he'll take that anime, and that'll be his new avatar as we go forward. But Kevin Durant also, and Kyle Lowry, among others, when we start talking about what the face of the Lakers and who that second guy, right? You're looking for Robin to the Batman, that there is something to be said for a superstar being willing to play the second fiddle. And I think unless you can give them measurables to say, hey, look, LeBron's not a cyborg and he's actually aging, I don't know that any guy signs up for that unless you're a complimentary player.
I think there's some of that, but I think the bigger thing is, there's two things here. Number one, if you go there, and I've had this conversation with a number of guys off the record, or even some of the guys that I spoke to on, for this story, that in conversation is, the general thing is, if you're with LeBron and you win, it's because of LeBron. And if you lose, it's because of you. And even if you're the second star on the team. And so do you want to sign up for that? And do you want to sign up for that now at a point where you're in the Western Conference where it doesn't even guarantee you a trip to the finals, and thereby getting to the finals, and anything can happen, as we found out in 2016. Now you're looking at it as, I got to sacrifice, I got to sacrifice like Kevin Love did. I got to sacrifice like Chris Bosh did. And I'm not even necessarily guaranteed that I'm going to get anywhere close to a ring. And if I do, and we do win, that's only going to add to the legacy of LeBron James. I'm going to be looked at as a guy who helped LeBron win yet another ring. So for all of that, that's where, and one more thing is the fact that just you happen to look at all of the free agents, the high-profile free agents, whether it was last season or this season, Paul George, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, they're all playmaking point forwards. They're all ball handling forwards at either position, and which is exactly what LeBron is. So it's not like you got a center or a point guard, or those aren't the guys that are on the market. They're all guys who essentially are in many respects kind of the same thing that LeBron is. And I think that was one of the points that KD was making in particular about the guys that could be on the market this summer.
You can follow him on Twitter at Ric Bucher. That is at Ric Bucher, Bleacher Report senior writer and insider. Don't forget, get his column. It's awesome right there. You can click on it right there on Twitter. And got the Bucher and Friends Daily podcast. Are you talking Fanboys tomorrow's podcast? What do you have tomorrow?
Oh, you bet we are. Ryan Hollins will be on me. And we may even talk about Jason Smith fanboys. If we can find one, we'll break that down.
Oh, we got a couple of them.
And
there's a lot of haters too, so that'll be fun.
Oh, can I tell you something great to bring up with Ryan Hollins? You want something?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Ask him how much this wardrobe is, what he's wearing. Because he's a guy, he and I are just like each other. Like we're saying, okay, how much did you pay for what you're wearing? And whoever you paid the least amount of money for it wins. He goes, oh, I love cheaping out. This sweatshirt I got for free. These pants I got when I played for the Clippers. These sneakers I got for free. Yeah, what I'm wearing right now cost me like $3. Like every day he dresses as cheap as he can with all stuff that he's gotten for free.
And that's when he's out in public. You can just imagine what he's wearing when we do a podcast.
That's a good question.
Whoa. See, that's where you need a video element, Rick. That's a video element. That's a tease right there. That's a tease right there.
Find all those Ryan Hollins fanboys now.
Bucher and Friends Daily Podcast. You can check it out on iTunes and get what you need on Twitter from Ric Bucher at Ric Bucher. Rick, as always, buddy, appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rick.
All right. Yeah, it was always fun with Ryan Hollins. We would do some shows with us here, and he was like, yo, this shirt didn't cost, this T-shirt I got when I played here, this I got here. No, I don't wear. Only thing I paid for is my underwear and my socks.
I really thought you were going to ask him how tall the desk is that they work at.
Oh, whoa, hey. Twitter at How About a Fresca, Mike at Swollen Dome. Phenomenal stuff explaining what's going on and what was happening today during the interview he did with Kevin Durant for Bleacher Report.